All right. What is up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Super simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. And we don't say that lightly. Like my personal cell phone is on schedulefly.com on like 3 pages. You can go find it and call me, text me. Um, and I'm always happy to talk about Schedulefly. I'm always available to help our customers with Schedulefly. So legendary support, simple software, low price point. We are not owned by venture capital or private equity, so we've never raised our prices in 18 years. And our customers are happy. We've grown to over 5,000 customers through word of mouth. We don't have a sales team. We don't have marketing. We just take good care of our customers and let the chips fall where they may. So if you are one of the hundreds of thousands of restaurants out there on pencil and paper or Excel, go to schedulefly.com. There's a little short demo video. You can do a 30-day free trial. You can call me or text me. Happy to rap about it. And also, if you're on another scheduling software that keeps going up in price, and you're paying for a lot of bells and whistles that you don't need and don't use, we would love a chance to earn your business. So check it out, schedulefly.com. All right, that's Schedulefly. Now, this is what we're here for, which is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast. And we are on episode number 600 and something. I don't know where we are in there, somewhere, maybe 620. We've done a lot of these things for 15 years. And our goal is to share stories of people that are in the trenches, that own restaurants, and just talk about what's happening, what good things are happening, what challenges are happening. We talk to people that have owned restaurants 30 years. We talk to people that are just starting restaurants. And I do not know Kristina. We got connected, and we had a very cool conversation before we started recording. So I can't wait to share this story. But Kristina, in your car there and outside of Raleigh in Wake Forest, North Carolina, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, Christina. Not a chef, but do own a restaurant. Little Moms and Pops Grub Smokehouse. Originally from Ukraine, raised in San Francisco. Huge foodie. Uh, and I'm just so happy that I get to bring a little bit of our love and community and spread that. It's been a big pause between our first restaurant and this one, and we somehow did a full circle, and now we're here.
Okay, so the only question I ever ask people on here consistently, every episode, we always start with your background in hospitality. Like when and why did you first get started in hospitality?
So I grew up in a family circus in the
Wow.
Soviet Union, and we traveled a lot different parts of the world: Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, um, Iraq, Russia, Ukraine, and every place had its own culture and hospitality and food and that community. And I always loved that part of it. Something about food and culture and people, it just that's where a lot of the magic and the happiness and the true identity of humans come about. I've never really worked in hospitality, and in San Francisco, I met a chef who is now my husband, and he worked at the Davies Symphony Hall in San Francisco. He is an amazing chef. It's a pure talent when I saw him. You can see that he genuinely loves what he does. There's no shortcuts. There's just pure joy. And it's like what are they called? Maestro, right? When they kind of
A maestro,
a
yes.
maestro.
Yes.
English is my second language, so you will
I,
have random
no, that's
makeup
great. I love
words.
it.
And that's when I met him. I just saw. I was like, "There's so much magic in it," and I was like, "I love putting events together. Why don't we put some groups, build a community?" And he loved it, and we just started putting together these events called Biscuits and Beats, where we would take a restaurant, we would rent it out, where for the night it's ours. I hired a DJ or a musician, local artists, and we for that day it was ours. And that's how we started, and we had such a blast and such great positivity and responses from people. We eventually opened a little hole in the wall in Merced, which is near Yosemite, a few hours from San Francisco. And we took over. It was in the middle of nowhere, and we decided to turn it into like a small little restaurant, nothing like a little moms and pops. I do marketing. I work with influencer marketing. I love bringing exposure to small businesses like ours. So that was my job, is to bring people in. His job was to bring people back. And we
Yes.
had that running for about a year and a half. I was also super pregnant. It was like really cute story. We eventually started doing events where it was like coursed out meals, and we would sell out these like tickets because we didn't want to open a fancy restaurant, but we did on occasion wanted to do fun private events where we did, a 5 course wine tasting, just something that people wouldn't expect from a little burger shop uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
called Grub. And we did that. Then COVID came, and sadly, COVID, it kind of shut us down. We were a little bit hesitant to keep going. We had 2 small kids by then, so I told him, be a stay-at-home dad right now. We switched roles in a way, and let's take off to Europe. As a chef, what's the best thing is you go out there, you try different flavors, you meet different people, different cuisines. Every part of the world has a magic in their own kitchen, their own special
Mm.
ingredients and
Yes.
sauces. And we took off. And for 4.5 years, we lived abroad. We went to Israel. We were in Italy, in Spain. Then at one point, we took off to Croatia, and we lived on an island called Brač. And it was just amazing bonding. But at the same time, we were always getting re-inspired, right, with the food. We would always have host dinner parties at our house, and we would always kind of schmooze, right? And all the schmoozing always happened around food. And somehow I don't cook, but I love mixing flavors together. I love pouring wine. I love watching people take that bite, and with their body language, like you can just see it.
Yes.
uh we almost opened a restaurant abroad. It was a bit, more challenging, and at the end of the day, I think we just wanted to go back home. We weren't
Okay.
sure where that home was.
Yeah.
We didn't want to go back to California. We wanted to keep exploring, so we're like, let's explore a new state. Right, the state's big. Every state kind of has its own vibe, its own jam, its own energy. And we kept doing our research. North Raleigh, or Raleigh, North Carolina, just kept popping up on the radar. It's a melting pot. There's more and more restaurants that are opening up. More people around the world are kind of migrating into this state. And we're like, we have nothing to lose. We sold everything in Europe with 5 suitcases. We came into the state, got an Airbnb for a month, instantly fell in love with the state, and bought a little house in North Carolina. Then David he's like, we can't really afford to open a restaurant right now. We just, put our money into the house. He found a job, and day one, he went to work. It didn't sit right with me. Something in me told me, we're not getting younger. What are we wasting? We know we are good when we have something of our own.
Yeah.
He went, and I found this place. There's a co-working space called Workspace Provision Co. in the Youngsville, kind of cusp on Wake Forest area. And they had a restaurant that's just been vacant sitting there. I reached out to Donna, who runs the place. I ran by through our concept. They don't have a hood system. It was a very tricky kind of location where I can see the challenges of other potentials wanting to open it. But we always wanted to add a smoke element into it. It's just in California, it's impossible to have a smoker or cooking with live fire. And she's like, I love that idea. Go for it. She gave us the green light, and if you come visit Grub Smokehouse, everything is DIY. So we put everything
Ah,
together from wallpaper. We painted everything ourselves. Very tiny budget, but everything. There's no shortcuts when it comes to the food. The smoker we got, and we just opened. This is our week 3, so really a soft opening.
wow. Week 3, huh? So you are
Week
really early on. Okay.
we're very early. No signs out. Just kind of right now word of mouth. We've been doing little feelers online. Just very all organic reach as of now, and so far the responses are very positive. So we're very thankful. We know once the word gets out there, we're gonna we're gonna make it. The little moms and pops place is gonna make it.
That's so awesome. Well, okay, first of all, for anybody listening, I live in Charlotte, and so I'm very familiar with Raleigh and the area there. I always like to tell people, when they hear Wake Forest, they're like, "Oh, where Wake Forest University is." No, that's actually not. It's a town outside of Raleigh called Wake Forest and Youngsville, and it's a growing area. Raleigh's growing really well. I wish y'all had come to Charlotte instead, but
We almost did. We did look at Charlotte.
what was it? What was the deciding factor?
Charlotte is a little bit more city-like. It's a little
Yes, it
bit
is.
faster pace.
Yep.
And when we're used to that in San Francisco, I love visiting New York. I did a lot of working gigs in there, but we wanted something a slower pace. We have 2 small kids. We wanted a little more mellowed out, right? I feel like we're always on the go, especially in New York. I feel like if I sleep, I'm wasting my day. I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
And so in Charlotte, just kind of it had that energy we like, but I feel like we wanted a little bit change of pace at this moment in our lives. Like
I
this is
think
kind of our
you're
new chapter.
I think you're smart. I mean, I grew up in Charlotte. I've been here my whole life, but it was kind of like a big small town when I was growing up, and now it's a big city. And so we actually moved to a little town called Waxhaw, which is like, just south of Charlotte, but it has a small downtown and, just needed a little bit slower. Charlotte is fast moving these days. Well, you picked a great state. North Carolina is a great place to be. I'm curious, like, I mean, just personally interested. So you could have picked anywhere, right? And I mean, any state, like, how, like, what were the things as you're doing your research? I mean, because you really got it right. Like, you picked a great place, but congratulations. But like, what were the things you were looking for? And, what were some other states you were looking at? And what made you decide on where you decided to land?
The other states, Washington, Seattle, we know that
Okay.
it's like, good food areas. We love the mountains. David, he lived in Seattle. So that was kind of our backup plan. I mean, we love San Diego. San Diego's a bit too pricey right now, but we did live there for a year. We love the water, but we just kept on. We're like, what's another place? And I have a Chat GPT assistant that I trained. So throughout the travels and everything, Chad is what I call him or it. It knows kind of quite a bit about us and the family and what we like and the things we like to do. And I also, it was kind of my assistant, and it was also kind of pushing the North Carolina. So then we went on YouTube, right? There's a lot of great YouTube videos, the up and coming place. And just if you look at the trends and the statistics, um, it just kept on showing, okay, there's these really interesting restaurants, right? There's variety. We like a variety of food, and North Carolina, particularly Raleigh, had those variety.
Yes.
I noticed that a lot of other people, I've joined different like Facebook groups, a lot of other people from different states also been migrating to North Carolina. So it showed me that the melting pot, maybe 10 years ago, maybe I wouldn't fully fit in, right?
Mm.
I'm a little bit rough around the edges, a little, kind of that like fast and say what I say, like probably not as nice as kind of that southern charm. So you could tell that I'm not from around here. I mean, I'm a good human, but definitely like fast pace and grew up in San Francisco in the tech community. You got to go, you got to do this. You speak what you say, and I don't speak that the nice what is that, where like sugarcoat. I don't know how to.
Oh, well,
No.
yes, yes. There's certainly has been a lot of that here. And
Yes.
so yes, no, I mean, boy, good job. I mean, you nailed it, and y'all are in a great place. I will tell you that we can follow up offline, but I know like we serve a lot of really well-known great restaurant people in Raleigh, like Chidi Kumar at Aja and Ashley Christensen and the people at Trophy Brewing. And like we have a lot of really good customers I know well there. If you ever want to get connected with any of those folks just to build your network,
Yes. I would
I'd
love
love
that.
to. In fact, I mean, literally right as we were about to get started, no kidding, a friend of mine out that owns restaurants out in Boulder, Colorado, he has a podcast. And he texted me, he said, "Do you know Chidi Kumar from Aja?" And I said, and I texted, I said, "I know her. I love her. She's one of the best people I know." And I mean, it was like wild that like out of the blue, like right before we started. So anyway, I'm happy to connect you with folks there. I'll actually send you a list of all the customers we have in North Carolina, and you can look in, Raleigh and Wake Forest and anywhere. And anybody you want to meet, just let me know. I'll get you connected if you're interested. Like, no worries if not. But
Yes, no, we love meeting new people. I mean, we moved here, we don't have family, right? All of our family, like, they were happy we moved back to the States, but they were also like, you're not moving back home. You're moving to a state you've never been. Everyone's just kind of puzzled, but we got to do what's best for our family. And
yeah,
this feels like home. And everyone that we've met has been very welcoming and inviting. But we're definitely always looking for new friends because we
yeah.
currently don't have any, but we just moved here.
We got you covered. Don't worry. We're going to get you a great network of really great people that do a wonderful job of supporting each other and other restaurants in the Raleigh community with sort of a rising tide lifts all boats mentality, right? Like that's what you need, you know? Okay. Tell us about your restaurant because you were talking to me before we started recording and it's like 10, we were talking at 10 o'clock and I'm like, I don't normally eat barbecue and meat this time of day, but I really, my mouth's watering. So tell me about what y'all are doing there.
So Grub Smokehouse, yeah, everything is made on the smoker, so there's always the smoke element to it. But what we're really pushing, it's a very non-traditional barbecue. Like I mentioned, we're all about creating a perfect bite. When you take a bite or just of anything, like you want that perfect combination. Like imagine if I take of a burrito and there's just like, too much rice, but not enough this, or it's too dry. And so I love having the flavors, and when you take it and it just all like a song, like a melody from start to finish in your mouth. And so what my husband does is he loves putting different flavor combinations together, and everything is made in-house. All of our sauces are from scratch. Everything, like we have the pickles, he pickles everything. We have the bread, we work with a local bakery. So he really thinks about, and also everything is fresh and seasonal. So, for example, a tomato, if it's off season, so right now we would like roast it and season it, right? But in the summer, it would be a fresh tomato. So, there's always going to be like slight changes based on where we are in the year. And that's just kind of been working of just kind of combining that perfect bite into each ingredient. Our menu is very small. We have, 5 sandwiches, we have few salads, and salads are phenomenal. I know everyone's like, oh, when I'm hungry, no, it's like the salad, when I order a salad, this is the type of salad that I'm craving. There's a lot of different components, and the dressings are also in-house. We also make two desserts at the moment, and one was we brought back from California. Our recipe is a sweet potato cinnamon roll.
Holy cow.
It's just so he makes it fresh every morning, and it's just one of the things that sells out pretty quickly. Right now we have apple pie, also from scratch, made daily. Um, the top three, I think, sandwiches. The pastrami is something that I think people will eventually figure out to almost call in advance. It's a very long process. We brine it for 12 days. He smokes it for a day, and then he steams it.
Oh, wow.
And there's no, right, if it doesn't sell, right, there's no such thing of like, oh, we're going to serve it tomorrow. So everything when you come in, it's just fresh and served. We don't even have a can opener in our restaurant.
Amazing. Amazing. So it'll definitely change throughout the year with seasonality of fresh local produce and all that kind of stuff. But that's what great chefs like your husband do is they're creative and they come up with ways to take what they have and turn it into something special.
Exactly. We don't like to waste anything. So if we have, say, any extra bread, right, like we don't want to serve if it's like a day old. And so now we're going to turn it into like a bread pudding because that's what you,
Mm.
so it's just, we really try to have the concept of the meats and everything kind of has its own place. And if there's any left, or maybe we turn it into something else that just so we don't, we're just not big wasters in general. We, we're like, that meat died for with a purpose, so we want to make sure that it gets kind of the love and the respect that it. So we also work with local purveyors and local farmers. We really try to also support um, anyone that also can we incorporate into the menu. We do our best.
You know, you seem like a very must be a very resilient and positive person, Christina, because one of the things you said about when you had your last restaurant is you were pregnant, you were running a restaurant, and it was this cute little thing. I think of that and I think running a restaurant's really hard. Being pregnant's really hard. Doing all that at one time and calling it cute and fun was like, wow, like you're a tough person for sure because, you know, running restaurants is just it's not for the faint of heart. It's a hard business. It's long hours, it's 3 a.m. phone calls that the freezer broke down or well, of course you don't have a free but I mean it's like there's just a lot that goes into that but it's part of why we like to do this podcast because we really want to share all that goes into it because some people get into restaurants and they're like, hey, I'm a good cook. Cool. Good for you. Do some dinner parties. That's very different than owning and running and operating a successful and profitable restaurant, particularly now labor costs go up, food costs go up, everything's gone up. The consumer is getting, it's hard, right? Like so talk about what some of the, what some of the challenges that you see ahead and how y'all navigate that.
Yeah, and I always tell people don't go into the food or the restaurant industry unless you're genuinely passionate, unless one of you is a chef and have done it before. Yeah, definitely. Currently, with the inflation, like you said, and where the world is headed, it definitely gets more and more challenging for small businesses. You literally get squeezed to the max. um so that's why we got to be very thrifty of like, where we get our products, and that's why we also all the labor intensive we spend, and that's where, we try to do our best of, okay, it's going to take us, 5 hours to make this sauce, but one, it's going to taste better. There's, that's kind of what we're about. But yeah, it's probably cheaper if I just go to like a big producer and just buy some, mediocre sauce. Yeah, that's gonna like cost, but it's a challenge. It definitely is. I'm actually, when in California, I had a full-time job because we knew that our passion project or the restaurant wasn't going to produce. We had two little kids. It's just the two of us, right? We don't come from money. If anything, when my mom passed away, like her debt came to me, which is like and I've always kind of, there hasn't been a moment yet where I was able to quit all my jobs and just focus on that. Is kind of the goal. Right now, I still have two full-time jobs as we're trying to get this. But when the love is there and when you just grind and put your work, like my husband's here from 5 in the morning, like he spends 12 to 14-hour days. We know deep down it's going to get paid off. When people come in and they try and they're just blown away and they can taste the love, like we know that will surpass, and we it's going to, we'll eventually get there where we're profitable. We just launched in California. We were getting ready to open our second location right before COVID. So I feel like we knew that the success was there. The first year, you just have to have enough savings and everything to know that, okay, I need to get past this first year, because a lot of cost. It takes quite a bit to open a restaurant, right? Between the marketing and the equipment and getting everything set up. Um, it's hard.
It is. It is.
We do love it, kind of working for ourselves. I can't complain. Working side by side with him, he's kind of back of the house, I'm in the front, setting up all the POS and working with the purveyors and kind of greeting. And I want to tell people our story, and hopefully the food speaks for itself.
Yeah. Well, I am confident that it will. And I think particularly, I think you nailed the location, because people in that area really do appreciate small businesses, local businesses, independent restaurants, more so than I think Charlotte. Charlotte, I actually had a restaurant owner on recently who's here in Charlotte, and he's done really well. But one of his commentary about Charlotte was that people like the shiny and new, so they go to the new thing for a while and then they move on to the next new thing, and it's a little bit harder to attract the sort of like loyal, regular customers, which is you've just got to do that with restaurants, right? So you did chat did a good job helping you narrow it
Yeah.
down. Well, but there you go. Like, folks, I mean, some people listen to this podcast that have owned restaurants for decades. Some people listen to this podcast that, may want to open a restaurant one day. So I always really try to make sure we talk about, the reality of it, and you kind of have to have it in your DNA, like what you're doing right now, what you and your husband are doing, and all that you're putting into it and all the hours. If if that's not coming from just a natural love for that, it's really hard to keep up with that pace and that grind if it's not like something you just feel called and meant to do, which y'all clearly do. And that's probably the fuel that sustains you on the challenging days. Is having that really like sort of in your DNA. And I tell people, Kristina, I started this podcast 15 years ago, and I thought that I was going to learn a lot from a lot of great restaurant owners. I mean, Chidi Kumar was one of them. She was one of the early guests. I was like, I'm going to learn from all these great restaurant owners how to do this, and then I'm going to open my own restaurant one day. It was going to be called Ribs and Whiskey. That was my plan.
Oh,
And
I like both of those things.
yeah, it's a song by a band that I like called Widespread Panic, and I like ribs and and whiskey. So I was like, okay, that would be this is gonna be the coolest place ever. And I had this in my mind, like what it was gonna look like and all that. And then I started like listening, and I was like, holy cow! Like, I don't think I have it in me. Like, it sounds cool, but I'm one of those sounds cool, but I'm smart enough to realize like that's just not. I don't have that in me. So I have this like massive amount of respect and admiration for people like you and your husband, and that's why 15 years later, I'm leaning into this podcast as much as ever, because I think it's important to share stories of folks like y'all. I think it's important to give a platform to people that are doing something special like y'all. And I also think it's important for people to know, what it really takes because unfortunately, a lot of, whatever the failure rates, you hear all these different statistics. Who knows what they are, but we do know that it's, the first
They're
year is
high.
they're high, right? But I think a lot of that is because people get into it without really understanding what they're getting into. And when the rubber meets the road and the 3 a.m. calls are coming, and if it, you got to have that. If not, then it's probably not going to work. And so, if we can even save people like me, from like making a mistake, and that's good too. So I appreciate you sharing all that because it's the reality of the business.
Yeah, yeah. The first year is definitely a grind. Like, and if you can't set your mindset, and when you're doing it, you have to actually, like, it's challenging. I think my husband lost like over 20 pounds in the last few weeks and stuff, but it's like he's genuinely loves what he does. And I love like greeting people and talking to people, and he'll it, he got it's like it's nice when people like you and I, and that's how we want to cook for people like you and I who are foodies and stuff. But he cooked for Snoop Dogg, he cooked for Dalai Lama, he cooked for Anthony Bourdain, and it was also kind of nice of getting the recognition from these people as well that have aid in front of these amazing chefs, but also enjoyed the meal made by my husband. So he's just so humble.
Cook for
And I loved Anthony Bourdain. If I could have that job, just traveling and eating and having a food podcast, sign me up.
sign you up. Yeah, I know. That's a side, you know, that's another piece of this, right? Like it's a tough industry with passionate people, but it is a grind. And one of the things that we really started to talk about as much as possible in this podcast is finding balance, right? Like finding balance for physical health, for mental health, for time with family. It can be really, really challenging. But the industry used to, it had this sort of work hard, play hard um, ethos. And the challenge with that is that led to a lot of substance abuse. It led to mental health problems. And the industry is evolving and changing and having that conversation more and more. And I think that's wonderful. It needs to continue because if you don't have some sort of balance, and I know like the first year you just kind of have to go like, we just got to do this. But at some point there has to be good balance and the ability to focus on yourself and take care of yourself because hospitality people like you and your husband are very giving people and you're always wanting to provide something to others. That's what hospitality is like, making people feel welcome and heard and important, but you're giving a lot. And if you're not able to give yourself what you need, it's like recharging a battery, then it'll wear you down, right?
Absolutely. I think the restaurant industry is probably one of the most unbalanced in this. From
Yes.
So when I met my husband, I come from tech, little cushiony positions. You're like by 3 o'clock, you're like there's a happy hour, some sort of event, and where they almost like get mad at you if you're still working. But it's, when I met him, just seeing him putting in these like 16-hour days and barely any lunch breaks, and like he's working 24 days in a row. It's like that whole work hard, play hard. Then afterwards, they like go straight to the bar and you do the whole shot. And, because it's like you've been ramped up, you don't have any time for yourself. And it's just so unhealthy. And that's another thing. It's like balance is key because you can just run yourself down really quickly. It's okay to have like the first year, yes, that makes sense. But long term, that's why I got my husband into yoga. So we do
Oh, there you
yoga,
go.
we do breath, and that's why a lot of people are like, "Well, you guys are fit. Why are you so fit?" And it's like, well, because we're also healthy, and this food is also all pure. There's no
Yeah.
preservatives. And
Yes.
yes, I'm gonna go stretch. I'm gonna go and sit in a sauna and do a cold plunge because I'm gonna be the best version of myself if I actually do something positive after work and not just do a shot and whatever else that industry used to do, right? So it's definitely changing. Because when we were in Seattle a few years ago, you see a lot of the chefs, they're all fit, it's like a whole, but 10 years ago, a lot of times it's, you're kind of expected to see a chef that's like a little overweight or there's a belly. And I love that that has been changing in this industry because I think it's very important.
I completely agree. I completely agree. It's a very positive trend, and it will continue. I mean, it's happening as a society too. Like people are drinking less alcohol, and like, and sometimes that's not a great thing for restaurants. But there are also all these like non-alcoholic, cool, I mean, cocktails now. I've had some; they're freaking great. But uh, it's what I love about the industry is it's just constantly changing and adapting, and it's the most resilient industry. Yes, restaurants fail, but as a whole, the restaurant industry is so adaptable and resilient and creative. And you know, it's restaurants have been around since the beginning of time, and they'll always be around. And I was just talking to somebody earlier today about how now more than ever, um, we really need restaurants because I didn't even think about this, but this person was saying he owns restaurants. He was saying, like we used to have a mall or some like, you would go to a mall and you'd be around people, and those are kind of going away. And like, gosh, we're all so dialed into these screens these days and these phones, and people are sitting at home and ordering food in, and we need restaurants because it's the one place we still have to be around other people and have conversations with other people and meet people from different walks of life. And, like you guys are like the beating heart of every great community is, your local independent restaurant owned by the local chef and his wife that are raising a family here. And like that matters in a community. It's what makes communities great. Like you can't find a great community and you ask somebody, well, why is that a great place? Well, top five on every list is always going to be, well, they got all these like awesome small local restaurants and cool, like that's always part of like what makes a community really special.
Absolutely. And you just have to know also your identity. I feel like another restaurants, like there's, if when you're starting out, don't try to please everyone, right? You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You have
That's
to
right.
know, okay, our prices are slightly higher, but it's like the quality and the prep and the love that goes into it. So it's like we're looking for people that, I love like a good sandwich that's put lots of love and there's no preservatives and there's that. So it's like we're very kind of niche in a way, but I know that there's that market. It's very similar to kind of what I look for too, right? We don't have like with our sandwich, it's not a full meal. Like you don't get like a side and a drink, like, but there are like other accommodating like places for that. So I always say, whatever you're passionate about and kind of stick to it and just kind of believe in like, okay, this is what I do, this is why we do it, and this is like the audience that we're attracting. I think that is key because when you go to a restaurant and they hand you a book of their menu and there's just like a seafood and a pizza and a burger and wraps, it's like I don't know what you are, and I'm a little bit hesitant because all of these things can't stay fresh, and that's where I get lost, and that's not my type of place. So I like looking for a small family owned that I know, okay, this is what they serve, this is what they're known for. Personal preference, but it's always, I think, very important to create your identity from the very beginning.
Well, you are your ideal customer. You're the ideal customer profile, and you know what you want, and you're solving for your own problem, which is what so many great businesses. I mean, you were in tech, like that's what a lot of tech is. I have this problem, I fixed it for myself. I know there's other people that have this same problem. That's what Schedulefly is. I mean, like literally,
Mhm.
it was started because my former business partner wrote the schedule in a restaurant on Excel and was like, this is crazy. Like, and then you post it and it gets changed and all this stuff, and people are calling. Like, I'm just going to solve this for myself. And then the idea was, well, I bet a lot of other restaurant people would, right? You're your own
Exactly.
customer. And that's important. And knowing who you are, I love that because, yes, when you go to a place and there's all this stuff, you're like, what are they good at? Because how can you be good at anything if you do everything? You're narrowing down. It's almost like it's better to cut than add, right? Like narrow down and just nail the things you do so that you know without a doubt, as you said, people are going to put that food in their mouth and you're going to see them like just go, oh yes, and they love it and they're like, I'm going to come here because I know that when I come here, my experience and my the food is going to be great. And then I'm going to tell my friends and I'm going to bring them here. And this is how you get word of mouth and all that. I do want to ask you something you mentioned earlier, and I'm curious about this, is you mentioned like uh, influencers and leveraging that you did in your last restaurant. Is that something you're doing locally there or you plan to do? And how does that like, I've never really, I don't know much about that, to be very honest. I
Yeah,
know what
yeah, and
influencers are. I just don't know how restaurants use influencers.
the influencer marketing, but it's kind of been around for a decade. I used to work at an agency, a talent agency. This is before TikTok even existed.
Okay.
Where I used to work with celebrities and different brands of all sorts would just come to me. They wanted some either exposure or more sales, or they're launching something, and then we would team them up with a celebrity based on the budget and the audience, and I would work with like the script and kind of bring that like organic um, feel all together. And I do that for multiple brands still. I still work with the influencers. I haven't used the influencers here yet. Right now, I'm doing just organic reach. And then my next step is there's a lot of moms, right? I feel like moms and parents in general, you follow them and their suggestions. So I want to find local foodies who just love good food and stuff, and just invite them like free meal. And if you like it, talk about it. I never want to pay someone to put a fake good review. I
Yes.
want the food. So it's like I invite people, I give them a free meal, and only if they like it. And I still want that organic reach and stuff, because there's so many fake engagements nowadays. And at the end
Yes.
of the day, you'll still fail, because it's like those are all bots and they've been purchased. So that just tells me that if you're hiding behind these and you have to pay someone to put in these good reviews, long term, that's not sustainable. But if you find people who have good audiences and who, follow them, just offer them a meal. Hey, we just opened, bring your family. Lunch is on us. Give me your feedback. And I love that organic reach. And I think using influencers in that type of capacity is a great tool for any small business.
That's really smart. Yeah, that's the key is I love the way you're doing that, which is certainly, not paying them because people get skeptical now and it's like, okay, I don't know. The the key with all this stuff is I mean you can pay for PR, you can pay people to come in your door. The question is, can you give them the experience that they expected so that they want to come back, right? Like there are ways to pay to get people to come try a restaurant. But if you don't execute and it doesn't live up to the promise of what they thought, they're not coming back. And the key with restaurants is getting people that become regulars that want to be back all the time. And so when you're out there doing that and you're having them in there and giving them a free meal and they're giving genuine, authentic, like this place is great. And then people come in and you all execute, then boom, like that's it. And one customer at a time, you start building a loyal following and validating why they came there, and that's how you build your base of customers.
Yeah, you just got to be patient when you just open your doors. You can expect, a full line, but if you serve the food that you're proud of, eventually there will be that line. I'm pretty honest that within a year, I feel like it really, because with barbecue also, it runs out. Like we have a closing time, but it's really until we run out of food. So
I like that because that creates a sense of urgency, and it's like, oh, we got to
yes,
get there before they close. And yeah, I think that's awesome. Well, if your husband cooked for Snoop Dogg, if you can get Snoop Dogg to fly into Raleigh sometime and come hang out and give you an endorsement, that would probably be a good thing. But I love what y'all are doing, Kristina. You have such a great positive energy about you, and I'd love to meet your husband one day. I am definitely going to come eat there.
you have to. It's a
I
must.
will. I mean, listen, I've got a lot of good friends in Raleigh. My stepmom lives in Cary. I'm up there a lot. My son goes to East Carolina, so we kind of have to go through there from Charlotte. You actually have to go up through Raleigh to get to East Carolina, which is out in Greenville, a little bit east of y'all. Uh,
Hmm.
Lots of reasons to be in your area, so I will 100%. You've hooked me.
Yes,
Absolutely.
be a pleasure
Is there
having.
anything else we should talk about? I want to respect your time. I don't know if we missed anything. Anything else on your mind?
No, I think we covered it. Trying to think. Also, for anyone in the industry, we always have like a discounted price because we know how, like you talked about in this industry in the hospitality, there's just like they they work so hard, right? It's not a good balance, and then sometimes the pay is not high enough and stuff, but we always want to invite people from our industry, and there's always an industry discount, as we just gotta support, and that community needs to stay together.
Oh, I love that. Well, that's another reason, like, okay, I'm going to email you a list of all of our North Carolina customers and just let me know the ones that are in and around your area there that you'd like to connect with. And I'll try to make those connections happen, build a network there. You can let them know, like, we've got the industry discount or whatever. And I mean, that's awesome. So, I'd be happy. I'll definitely do that. I'll follow up with and get that to you.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Um, all right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank you very much, Kristina, and wish you and your husband and your family the very best and welcome to our great state of North Carolina. And thank you for being on here, and thank you all that are listening. And I always ask here, I've gotten really good at asking this at the end of these episodes now. Kristina, if you'll do this, and everybody listening, go to Apple Podcast or Spotify, wherever you listen, give us a 5-star rating, because the more ratings we get, the more that the algorithms put this in front of people that need to hear wonderful content like this. So we appreciate y'all doing that. We appreciate you listening. Thank you for this opportunity, everybody. And Kristina, thank you so, so much for taking the time to be on here today.
Yeah, thank you for having us and giving us a little spotlight on our little grub smokehouse.
Grub Smokehouse. And tell me, where do people find you?
We have a website, grubsmokehouse.com. We're on Instagram and Facebook. We Where else are we? I just launched a TikTok. We have a Yelp page and a Google. So, we're slowly making our ways.
All right, there you go. Grubsmokehouse.com. If you're in the Raleigh area, go check them out, y'all. That is a wrap. Thank you all for listening. More episodes coming soon. See ya.